Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us for Sophisticated John. It's been a while, but we got lots to talk about. So let's
Lot.
dive in. What's up, John?
What up?
So I think today's topic is going to be one that is very close to both of our hearts.
Mhm.
Three chambers of your heart and just one
Yeah.
little chamber of mine. And
Yeah.
that's motherhood.
Mama.
Or for my hood, they called it advanced maternal age, which I'm very offended by. Was I 40? I was 40. I was 40, y'all. I was 40 when I, you know, had my little boo-boo.
Yeah.
But I'm offended that
Uh-oh.
they would consider it to be
Mhm.
advanced maternal age. Now my knees don't work the way that they used to when I was
Now,
younger.
wait a
So I
minute.
advanced maternal knees. I don't know,
And
but I don't all right. So my bad. Let's go ahead. I don't know. I don't know, but let's talk. Let's talk about motherhood. I have so many things to say because, again, at 40, giving birth and having never been pregnant, never had another child, very eye opening experience from
Mm,
the doctor's appointments to the birthing experience to the
mm.
recovery to this little human being that has now taken full control of my entire life. And we're
Yeah.
talking about the person that I was just like doing whatever and all of the things that I wanted to do to now it's like, okay, ma'am, and can I go to the bathroom? Like you have to ask this little
Yeah,
human, can you go to the bathroom?
permission.
I don't, not really. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't, but you share with us your experience being
Oh,
a mother of three. And then
sure.
I'll, of course, share my experience being a mother of one, present day, right?
Yeah.
Because you are truly in the blessed stage where all of your children are grown and get to
Adult.
do all the fun things with them now
Indeed. Indeed.
versus my little
Yeah.
crumb snatcher.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Just left.
Yeah, so 3 years apart, each of them. It's
Mm.
funny, the oldest and the middle are 3 years and 3 days apart, and the middle and the youngest are 3 years and 3 months apart.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't plan it that way. Not sure how that happened, but 3 is a magic
It
number.
worked
I'll
out.
take
It worked out. It worked
it.
out.
Yeah, and I was a young mom, as we've heard before on another, one of our episodes. So, with each of them, um, I was no, the oldest 2, I was under 20, and the youngest, I was right after 20. I think I was 21 when
Mm.
I had her. So, yeah, that can't be right. 21, that's wrong. The math is not mathing, so I must have been older. I think I was 23, maybe.
Advanced
Which
maternal
means
brain.
actually, I all of that math I just did was wrong. Only one of them was under 20. The other 2 were over 20. Okay. All right. I don't know how to math. Anyway,
Nope, it's okay.
it's been a long time. Like I
It's been a very long time, yes.
said.
Your youngest is
21.
21.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy to even say that as I look at her every day, and I'm just blown away by her being an adult. But when
Mhm.
they were little tots going through pregnancy as a young one, delivery, we were
Mm,
just giggling about epidurals and all of that. I had
mhm,
an epidural with each of them.
mm,
The middle child was, I would say, the most complicated delivery. He was coming out sunny side up, so they had to go in and turn him around before he could come
mhm,
out.
mm,
Um, the oldest was the longest delivery, 24 plus hours.
mm.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I and the drugs were good. I remember being on Dilaudid, and
Mm,
the nurse came in, and I was just going through it because it was late. People around me were asleep. I was
mhm,
mad and that I was awake and in
mhm,
pain. So I
mhm,
remember screaming for the nurse
mm.
for no reason other than to wake everybody up. She
Oh,
came
man.
in, and I was like, "You're the best nurse I've ever had."
Now, girl, I would have been so irked. What?
No.
You it's okay.
She was, like, so touched by that, that the next day after delivery, she came to see me and the
Oh.
baby, and she stood at the door, and I was like, "Who are you?"
Yo, sis, what you need?
I don't I
Like,
don't I
this
didn't
ain't that
remember her.
day.
I didn't remember
Oh,
her. I felt
she
and then
probably
after
felt
a while, I was like, "Oh," but I already did the damage. She was already
damn.
heartbroken and, yeah, the love
She
was gone,
probably
apparently.
she probably tells that story present day, and this is why she doesn't connect with her patients anymore because of you. It's fine, it's fine. You tricked her. You
I
tricked her. It's
know.
awful. It's
I
really
know. It
awful.
was bad, it was bad. And then the youngest came pretty quickly. I knew I didn't wanna go to the hospital until I knew I was, like, in serious
Mhm.
active labor because I'd been through it twice already. So,
Mm.
actually, I remember having contractions in my sleep and
Mm.
waking up, and their dad was like, "Are you having a bad dream?" I was like, "No, I'm having contractions."
Mm.
And I just like I was remember wanting to stay in the house until I was experiencing them more, closer together and got to the hospital, walked into the labor and delivery department, and they were like, I said, "I'm in labor." They said, "Okay, I'm sure you are." And they sent me somewhere else
Oh,
because
Lord.
you're not supposed to go right to labor and delivery. So they checked me in and like 10 minutes later wheeled me and I looked over to him. I was like, "I told you."
They didn't know who they were dealing with.
Oh,
This is
no.
number 3. I am pretty
Exactly.
aware of when it's my
Exactly.
time. Thank you and good night.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
So, yeah, those were my quick and, well, not so quick stories about the deliveries of the 3.
How did you when you were pregnant, how did you
Mhm.
feel emotionally?
Oh, geez. Wow. Um, I remember with the oldest that I was just so kind of enamored by the idea of having a baby, but not really understanding the levity or what the seriousness of it all. I don't remember which word I wanted to use. That's okay. It's not levity, definitely not levity. Um,
Oh, girl, my head, I can't. You gotta be
I
serious now.
know, I'm
You gonna give me a headache
trying,
from
I'm
laughing.
trying.
This is the problem. Mm.
Um, but yeah, I remember, yeah, my hormones and emotions were all over
Mm.
the place.
Mhm,
My like regulating my body and understanding like what hormones were doing
mhm,
and like I remember my blood sugar levels shifting and passing out on bus. Like it was a whole
mhm,
time. Like it was a whole
mm,
experience. And then with my middle child, through pregnancy, I remember just being like embracing it and just like
mhm,
enjoying it.
mhm,
And then with my youngest, I I gained the most weight I'd ever gained with my middle child because I was embracing it so much.
mhm, mhm.
That with my youngest, I was like, I'm only gaining the required amount of weight, which was 30 pounds. I don't know if that's still the same. It was
Mhm,
30 pounds at the time, but I was very intentional and only gained 30 pounds. And I remember emotionally with her, um, feeling very connected to this little
mhm,
girl because
mhm,
in my family on my mom's side, I am the last girl.
mhm.
So it was 20 some odd years between and a whole bunch of boys, and I remember going to get my ultrasound, and my aunt went with me, and when they told us it was a girl, we just screamed to the top of our lungs
Aw.
because we were full like, our family is full of boys.
Mhm.
So I just remember just being so connected to her, um, through the pregnancy and through now. Actually, I have
Listen,
not disconnected at
no,
all.
you haven't, not even a little bit, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. We appreciate that.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
And
indeed.
she has not disconnected. She is even more now connected, I believe, in her
Yeah.
older years. So,
Yeah.
good luck to
Yeah.
anybody trying to get close to you.
Right.
Nope. Not me, though. Not me. I'm excluded from that. Excluded from that. I'm her favorite. I said it. I'm her favorite.
And what similarities do you find? Are there any in my experience that you found being a full adult is what I call us now, and having going through pregnancy and having a baby?
Um, no. No, I feel like everything was 10 times whatever you're saying, right? So,
Mhm.
first of all, let's start from the beginning. Y'all
Yeah.
got coffee, something to drink, because this is gonna be long.
Yep. Oh.
We talking about a person who who was at the point where she was just like, "Okay, that's maybe it's not gonna happen." I was fully like,
Yeah.
we were on our way back from where were we coming back? Ireland, I
Ireland,
think.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
we were on the plane. None of you knew I was thinking this, but I was like, okay, well, I'll just be what they call the rich auntie. Not rich at all, but the one that doesn't have any real responsibilities. And I'll just go on 4 trips a year. Totally fine. Like it's okay. And so fast forward a few
Mm,
weeks later,
just a few weeks.
a few weeks,
Mhm.
a few weeks.
Pray.
Finding out it was so I had so many
Mhm.
emotions, but the actual pregnancy was so interesting because my body was my emotions were seemingly stable, but on the outside looking in now, they were not stable at all. Like I was all over the place, which makes sense, right? Because first of all, you're in disbelief that it's happening. You're excited that it's happening. Then
Yeah.
you're scared as crap because you're trying to figure out what is even. You're talking about a type A personality. I
Mhm.
have zero control at this point. What is even about to happen with my life, right?
Yeah.
And so there's all of that. And then in terms of physically, I am older. So I thought about, okay, I'm going to maintain some level of working out, but then I'm like, I am older and I don't want to do anything that could potentially put, the baby at risk,
Mhm.
irrespective of, how safe it could be. I don't know. I've never been here before.
Right.
Um, I think I fully embraced it because at first I was like, "Oh, no, I can't eat this, I can't." Then I was like, "Girl, you're not gonna do this again. We finna eat." And I enjoyed eating. I came to the house a couple times and I don't think I overate though. I think
No, I don't think so.
there were times that I woke up at like 3, 4 in the morning for sure, cooked some bacon and eggs. The baby was hungry. I don't
Yes,
know. You
yes.
can't deny the baby. And when I was growing up, I was always around the women in my family when they were pregnant, and I would eat
Mhm.
with them. Boy, the
Yeah.
best thing to do is eat with a pregnant woman, and we talking about some good food. And I was always told, like, you never deny a pregnant woman food. Mama need to
Listen,
eat. I don't
makes
know.
sense to me.
I'm just saying. But I had some interesting experiences um during the pregnancy in terms of like mm, people making assumptions that they
Mm.
shouldn't have, and by people, I mean to people in healthcare, um,
Mhm.
that were, like, uncomfortable. So you talked about your blood sugar levels going up and down. My blood sugar levels, as far as I knew, never went up and down, but I was always eating, so
Mhm.
that was on me. I enjoy food, not snacks, food, like food. But I remember going in for my 6-week check-in or confirmation or whatever, and they took the blood work or whatever, and they told me that my A1C was like entering into the pre-diabetic levels. So they encouraged me to go see um, an endocrinologist. I put it off for a couple weeks. I was like, I don't feel like doing any of this. I'm
Mhm.
exhausted. Like, I don't even want to go to these appointments every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I went. And so they didn't send my lab work over. So I remember checking in and the nurse practitioner at the time asked me like what I was there for. And I said, well, my OB says that my A1C levels are pre-diabetic. So she wanted me to come here and get checked. And she said exactly this. Oh, that means you have gestational diabetes. And I was like,
Mm.
no, she said, oh, that means you have gestational diabetes, but I'll wait for the doctor to confirm. I said, let's wait for the doctor to
Right.
determine. Like
Mhm.
you made that assumption based on what? So
Right.
the doctor comes in with her attending physician and they're talking to me, asking me about my diet, whatever, whatever. She was like, well, your diet seems normal. She was like, but maybe, carve out or curb some of, these things or whatever. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, fine. And then they wanted me to take my blood sugar after each meal for a week or a couple weeks to just see what my levels were. And so the doctor left and the attending physician left the attending physician with the nurse practitioner and told him to learn how to show a patient how to take their blood because I didn't know any of these
Yeah.
things.
Mhm.
And so they gave me the tools to do that.
Mhm.
And I remember this. Well, I was so angry. The medical assistant or the nurse practitioner, one of them said, "Is she taking insulin?" As if I'm not in the room. The
Wow.
attending physician said, "Not yet." I said, "Excuse me?" I
Wow.
said, "Let me be very clear. I will not be taking insulin." I said, "I
Mhm.
do not have diabetes." I
Mhm.
was here, for like like to make sure that everything was okay. They didn't run anything. They didn't even have my
Wow.
lab. Like they just made assumptions. Okay.
Mhm.
So I left. I was pissed off. First of
Mm.
all, that little prickly thing that you do to your
Yeah.
finger, not a fan. So I left. They gave me the little strips. They gave me the whatever. I came home. I'm super frustrated. So I take the measurement and I put it down on the little paper. Everything's normal. And I go back and it's to whatever at whatever point, however many weeks you go for that awful glucose test. So
Mhm.
I'm thinking because they got listen, when I say stress, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have gestational diabetes. I can't eat anything. Da, 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 da. And so obviously my child's father was like, "Ain't nothing wrong with you." Like, "Give me something together, you better eat this food." And I also think I talked to you too. You were like,
Yeah.
"Girl, you better eat this, you better eat."
Right.
So I take the glucose drink, which they had me thinking it was gonna taste like magnesium citrate.
Oh, no.
Okay. No. That joint tastes like some high C fruit punch. I
Yes.
was like, "Oh, y'all acting crazy in here."
Yeah.
I take it. You wait the allotted time, they take the blood, so I'm stressed out until the thing come back. Child passed it with, like I said, "These
Yeah.
mother"
Yeah.
not celebrated with a donut. But
There we
anyway,
go.
the point is, okay, and I share with my OB that I didn't appreciate that some assumptions were made freely,
Right.
right? Based on what you see and what you think
Mhm.
versus you actually running labs to determine if this is the case. And it ended up not being the case. And of course, my OB was trying to be politically correct and was like, "Oh no, I don't think that was what was happening." And then when I switched OBs, that
Yep.
new OB was like, "Oh, no, that's definitely what was happening."
Yeah.
So that was an experience that I didn't appreciate, but I think it's important to share here that trust your body and ask questions and don't allow
Mhm.
people to force what they believe on you because of, their assumption about you based on how you look. That's unfair.
Mhm.
That's
Right.
absolutely unfair, and
Mhm.
that was not the case for me, and if anybody's feeling like they're being forced, not forced, but encouraged to do something without um, folks taking the necessary steps to determine whether or not that's the actual diagnosis, you have to advocate for yourself.
Mhm.
1,000%.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I honestly don't remember
Right.
my
Exactly.
experience enough to remember if similar assumptions were made.
Mhm.
But it absolutely correct in, considering being a Black woman and
Mhm.
not having at least a person of color as your
Mhm.
doctor and how assumptions are made based on what you look like, unrelated to your lifestyle, unrelated to
Mhm.
the labs. Like, you're
Mhm.
not gonna make a decision about me, you haven't even run a
That's
number.
right.
Like, what
That's
is
right.
that?
That's
What is
right.
that?
And
So
also,
mhm,
we're talking about the 6-week check-in. At this point, or however long before that, I had no idea that I was, or at some point before then, I had no idea I was pregnant. And then
mhm,
once I did know I was pregnant, I was experiencing some level of morning sickness, but it wasn't like I didn't vomit, which
yeah,
is good. But imagine for a moment, right? You have like this is how I would describe it to you and everyone else. This
mhm,
very small amount of spoiled milk just
mm,
floating around in the bottom of your stomach. That's how I
yeah,
was walking around all the time.
yeah,
So, in order to settle my stomach, there was ginger ale in the beginning, and there
mhm,
was probably toast or some soft pretzel. That
mhm,
was because nothing else was going to settle my stomach. So,
mhm,
that being the case, and then of course I was able to shift out of that, and I stopped drinking the ginger ale, and I changed over to just if I needed a little fizzy, I was drinking soda water, and but um I said that to my OB. I was like, "You do you what? Like what?"
yeah,
And I've never had an issue with my blood sugar, whatever. And I also remember being at the endocrinologist and they were like, "Oh, and you have skin tags. That's a sign of insulin resistance." And I was like, "That's fair. Maybe it is." I said, "But I've had these pretty
yeah,
much since I was like
right,
for a long time."
Mhm.
Um,
Which
so
your
it
mom
was
has them too, right?
yep,
So it's
yep,
genetic. Like,
right.
people
Right.
ugh.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. But what I will say is that the folks in my OB office, even before I changed my primary, were really good, very attentive.
Mhm.
I never felt like anyone was pushing anything on me. That was the first negative experience that I had. And that was outside of that office. And it's funny because my OB was like, well, who did you go to? And I told her, she was like, well, I didn't tell you to go to that person. I gave you two names. And I was like, well, no, they weren't available. Like, okay, my bad. Y'all was on my head about going to do this, and I
Right.
finally went after 20 weeks. And listen, because I have things to do. But you talking about sleep? Oh, wasn't nothing like a nap when I was pregnant.
Yeah.
I
Oh
would
my
come home
goodness.
from work and take a nap and wake up refreshed and go back to sleep with no
I
problem.
remember with my 2nd child, I worked as I was young and was working at I was 411. So back in the day, when you dialed 411, you got
Yes,
a person,
yes.
and I
That
remember
is hilarious.
falling asleep during work
Oh, what?
and waking
Mm.
up to someone in my ear.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. How did you respond? How did you respond? How did you
I ju
respond?
I wish I remember.
Mhm.
Oh, I do, it was Signal. I would just go right into, "Thank you for calling Signal," like, turning it on,
Oh
like, I was
my
here, I was
god.
awake
Knocked
and
out.
aware this entire time. Yep.
Awake and aware. Not at all. Not even close. She was sleepy, y'all. She was asleep. That baby was kicking her tail. That
Yes,
baby was it's
very much.
interesting though, because I remember I was so oh my gosh, the whole time I was just like, what I was excited about being pregnant, but I had to get a C-section because
Mhm,
previous 2 years prior, I had to have my fibroids removed, which
mhm.
was insane. And fortunately, it was not by the normal cut, but instead it was a laparoscopic surgery, which was
Yeah.
outpatient. But of course, mine wasn't outpatient because I had to stay overnight because the OR was booked.
I wonder if
And I
I could
ended up going
insert
there
the
so late.
picture
No, you
of
cannot. No,
no?
you can. No, you can. And first of all, that is very rude that I will call you on the FaceTime to let you know that I was okay, and you will be taking a picture, posing, by the way. Meanwhile, I am out of sorts, face swollen, okay, and you taking a picture and then gonna
It
send
was
it to
great.
me.
It was great.
You ain't right. But anyway, and I had to get the C-section, and yeah, that was an experience. That was
Yeah,
the part that during my whole pregnancy, I was like, "Oh, I'm so excited, whatever, whatever." And then I would think, but this baby gotta come out. She can't stay
yeah,
in there forever." And it was
yeah,
just like, I'm scared. I don't wanna
yeah,
have this major surgery. And what do you mean I have to be awake?
right.
Now, I've only had 2 surgeries in my life. One was a knee scope, and that was outpatient, but they put you in a nice little slumber.
Mhm,
It's a good sleep. And then was the laparoscopic myomectomy, and you went to sleep. So now
mhm,
you're telling me that I need to be in this very serious surgery, but awake.
right.
Alright, we gonna fast forward real quick because I need y'all to see
Mhm.
how this brain work. Now, y'all, I'm sure
Oh
we at
boy.
what episode is this? 8 or 9 or something like
8,
that?
8.
At this point, y'all know I'm the special one between the 2 of us, and that's okay. My brain works a little different. So let me tell you what I'm thinking, right? I need to set the scene, right?
Yeah.
First of all, I don't wanna be here, all right? I need y'all to figure out a way to get this baby out without having to cut me and all this other stuff. That's not gonna happen. That's fine, all right? So, we in there, right? And they doing it's a video and they trying to talk to me, whatever, and I'm real calm. So I go through like a series of emotions. Like I'm stressed, I'm praying, and then I get to this point where I'm like, all right, Lord, you got me.
Mhm.
I'm here.
Yeah.
But I gotta be real calm. I can't, whatever. So I'm at that point. They come into the room and they say, okay, you want to walk down to the OR? I said, oh, sorry, what? Y'all want me to walk? Why do y'all want me to walk there? I don't wanna go there, and you want me to walk down there?
Willingly,
Okay,
right.
that's fine. So I'm walking down the hall. I said, "Well, this is the thought I had. If I run out the door,
Oh my goodness.
would they catch me?" Listen, I was still
Probably.
a little light on my feet, you know what I'm saying? Wait, let's go back a little further. I wasn't scheduled till 2:30. 1:30 rolls around because my child is chilling too hard in the
Yeah.
womb
Mhm.
'cause the baby ain't had no food since
Yeah.
the night before 'cause you gotta fast starting at midnight, and we are
Mhm.
now at 1 o'clock, and they're monitoring the baby, and the baby's heartbeat is a little lower than they would like, but I
Mhm.
imagine the baby was hungry
Right.
'cause I woulda had 10 meals by now, and they don't give you nothing to drink.
Right.
You get the water to take the little, I forget what pill they gave me. Okay, so walking down so because of that, I guess they called my doctor and she was like, "Well, if the OR is available, let's put her, let's get her in there." Cool, no problem, which is why I really appreciate her. So they want me to walk down. I'm thinking, are they gonna catch me? Because I listen, because I was ready to
Yeah.
go.
Can you
We get
imagine?
in the room. We get in the room. I said, "Oh my god, I don't want to be here."
Mhm.
Oh, I'm 2 seconds from wigging out. Right. So they have the little step. You go up and you sit down. I see my doctor in there. She got her whole team. Everybody speaking, whatever. And the anesthesiologist. This man was hilarious because I was like, "Okay, Doctor So and so, I would really like for, this not to happen." What he looked at me, he said, "If I need to save your life, I'm gonna do it." I was like, "Well, no, he's
Listen,
saying that
you
if
got a
you."
job to do, okay?
He was very matter of fact. He didn't give you warm and fuzzy. He gave you, "I'm here to do my job and I'm finna do it. You gonna shut up." And I was like, "That's fine. I respect your hand." Okay. So I go when I see him, I was like, okay. You see all these machines, right? And
Mhm,
so I'm like, okay, so it's between now and however long this is going to take that I'm going to have to be responsible for this human being, this little
mhm,
baby human. But I still don't want to be on this table. So I'm sitting on the table. So the little precious nurse said, "Okay, we're going to give you a spinal tap, not epidural, spinal tap," which I guess is
mhm,
similar.
mhm,
And she's she said, "Just curve your back, but you can lean on me." So I do it. I have
mhm,
zero interest in any of these things that's happening, right? So they do it. I immediately start to not be able to feel my legs. I don't like
mhm.
so they lay me down. Honey, when they draped that blue drape, I said, "I got to get the hell out of here." I was like, "This ain't happening. I can't do this." And I was just laying there. So they had my arm stretched out because they had an IV and then they monitoring my heart rate, my blood pressure, and all this other stuff. So her dad, my significant other walks in. He sits down. He's trying to calm me down. I will say when I saw him, I was like, "Okay." But
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm trying to blink, blink, blink,
Right. Get me
get
out of
me
here.
out
Get
of
me out of
here,
here.
right? So we get to a point where there's so much pressure in taking the baby out that I feel like somebody's sitting on my chest.
Mm,
I was like, "Oh my god." Now I can't feel any pain, but I can definitely feel pressure.
mhm,
And I don't like laying straight back on my I don't like to lay straight back. I
mhm,
always have to have some level like some angle or something, or
mhm,
I'm on my side or whatever. It just I don't know what it is, but it like makes me anxious. I don't like it. I'm
mhm.
laying straight. There's no right. I start wigging out. Nobody knows this. So I'm like, I turn my head, but I try to like arch whatever top of my body because I can't feel nothing else. And I'm like trying to like just chill and talk or whatever. But I start to think if I could please gain access to the ability to move this body, I'm getting the hell out of here, right?
Probably not a good
Me,
idea.
I promise you, in my mind, I said, "Please, please, 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 I just wanna get the hell out of here. I don't wanna be here anymore." And you hear, like, all this stuff going on. You hear, like but you can't see it. So, I know some
Mhm.
women have the option to have that clear part where you can see. I'm
Yeah.
kinda glad I don't wanna see. I don't wanna see.
See, I'm into that.
I don't
Oh,
I would have passed
yes.
out. I would have passed out.
Oh,
I
no,
would have
I'm
passed
into
out.
that. I would
I
have
would have been
like,
like,
"Yes,
"Oh
please."
god, please." Would have passed straight on out. It's so it was just a whole lot. So you see the anesthesiologist, he's looking over, he's like, "Yeah, they're putting it." He said, "They're putting the uterus back." I said, "What
Ooh,
the what
ooh.
what?"
Wow.
When I heard my child cry, I immediately obviously cried.
Yeah.
But the baby only cried for like a few minutes. I should have known then that
Like,
child was
"I
gonna be
don't have time
something.
for this. Wrap me
Very
up,
much
I'm cold." That's what she was
very
saying.
much yes, very much like, "Alright, I'm
Mm.
here. Y'all heard me. My lungs work. Get me out of here, like, I'm cold,
And
like, what's up?"
feed me.
Yes, I'm hungry. And, but so then, okay, know that the baby's okay, the baby's gone. significant other has gone with the baby. When who gonna hold my hand? Where my mom?
Oh,
Where my mom?
right.
Where my
Yeah.
wait, go back a little bit more. Initially, they said my mom and
Mhm.
my significant other can be in
Mhm.
the room.
Mhm.
Then they said, "Oh, just one." I said, "Oh, what?
Wow.
What?" It
Wow.
was too much change. You know, I don't like change. You have to tell me
Right.
a couple weeks in advance, a couple days or something. So first, y'all moved it up from 2:30 to 1:30, and then you
Mhm.
told me that only one person can be in there. My lord, my lord, my lord. So the moral of me sharing this part is, and for y'all to understand how my brain works, a sister was trying to get up off that table. You hear me? I was not trying to lay there. That is not it. Being awake for any level of surgery, I'm not interested in it. I'm just not. I want it.
Randomly, one surgery that I had that I woke up in the middle of, they only had the twilight. I broke my
Mhm.
finger, and I remember waking up and looking over at the doctors, and I'm into
Of
it.
course you
Let
did.
me
Of
see,
course
but they
you
didn't
are.
see me looking at them, and they were like,
Very weird.
they put the blanket
Very
over my face.
wait, wait, they put the blanket over your face while you
Yeah.
were awake?
It for I don't know if they, like, pushed something and made me go back to sleep,
Oh,
but
thank God,
but
because
they
that is
first they
very
covered my face.
strange. I want you to be asleep before they cover your face.
No, they didn't wanna see my eyes looking.
No, yeah, I probably will wanna see you look. Can you imagine? What are you doing? I don't know. Yeah, that was a the whole that experience, what I think that my doctor was hands down fantastic. I
Yeah.
mean, she got me in, she did what she needed to do, got me up out of there. Um, I think though that the process is interesting where they monitor your blood pressure
Mhm.
and try to now diagnose you with what did I say it was called? Gestational hypertension.
Yeah.
So I didn't I won't say I, but a woman didn't eat food since midnight the night before, and of course, you probably didn't eat right up until midnight. You didn't have anything to drink either, and then you're
Mhm.
going to major surgery, and they're pumping your blood with, like, whatever the, anesthesia is, and you're also awake,
Right.
and you just saw your child,
Right.
and you're being sewn up 7 layers, right?
Mhm.
What the
Yeah.
Forfignugan do you
Yeah.
think my blood pressure is going to
Right.
be? Do you think it's gonna be, like, on the low, low? No.
Right.
And what
Right.
part of I tried to get off the table 10 times, don't y'all understand? I think it's just not to mention the night before, someone from the hospital called and asked if they could have my placenta.
Wait a minute, you never told me this.
I'm
I'm sorry,
sorry.
what? 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 What?
I
The night
called
before they
the
called
night
you?
the night before they called me if they could have it for research purposes.
Who wait. This is a hospital or a doctor or something?
Hospital the hospital.
What?
It's some part of the hospital that does it. When I tell you I was very calm, and I told
Wow.
that man, I said, "Listen, I understand that for the advancement of medicine, this is probably important, but
Mhm.
I think that you need to understand the mind of a woman that's about to give birth, and for you
Right.
to call me the night before and
Right.
ask me if you could have my placenta,
Right.
do you understand?" I said, "You could have done this a month or 2 ago."
Right. That's
I
true.
think you need to tell your superiors that they need to
Mhm.
change the timing because this is very insensitive.
Yeah.
You have a
Yeah.
good day. He called me
Mm.
back and apologized.
Oh, wow. Good.
I was
Good.
hot as push.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there, I'm stressed out, and you
Right.
going about my
Right. Right.
y'all know I ate that joint? I didn't eat
Wait, what?
I didn't I didn't I
No,
didn't
no,
I
no,
didn't no,
no.
no. It's Oregon. It's Oregon. Fried that joint up with some eggs the next
I
day. Yep.
can't.
What's up?
People do that though.
No, 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 people, not me.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I like I don't eat organs as far as I know. I don't think I do. I know. Um, but I will say that I did make a joke out of being considered advanced maternal age every time I went to the doctor,
Mhm.
which was often. It was every 2 weeks and then every week.
Mm, wow.
And I would often say, "Who paying for this? My
Right.
insurance, this is a lot. I don't."
Yeah.
My insurance would be like, "Mm-mm, this too much, miss. We
I
don't want
can't. I
we don't
can't.
want it." But what I will suggest is no one have a baby at the beginning of the year because that's when your insurance is nice and fresh, and if you have a high deductible plan, it ain't covered. You gonna meet your deductible for sure after having your baby. I guarantee you that. But
Mm,
other than
mm,
that, I will say my experience in the hospital giving birth was positive overall, except for one experience where I was totally out of it after having my child. This was what was this was within a few hours,
few
right?
hours, just a few hours, yeah.
And this nurse, my lord, all the other nurses were I mean, what we had this younger nurse
Mhm.
during the duration of my stay, which wasn't long because I got up out of there. She was so I mean, she was very attentive. She was just wonderful. But on that night after giving birth to my child, this one nurse was so inconsiderate of my family
Mhm.
and my friends and made some statements that were very, very insensitive
Right.
and caused a little bit of a some friction.
Mhm.
Besides that, there were some people at the front desk or whatever, the patient desk that were just
Yeah.
totally, totally not okay.
Right.
Totally not okay. Um, and so I was made aware of this nurse, and again, I'm out of it to the point where I asked my family and friends if they could everybody just go home. I'll see y'all another time because I couldn't.
Yeah.
I guess something was happening where the anesthesia was wearing off, but then I was very dizzy and I felt like I was going to vomit. It was just bad.
Mhm.
But I remember asking the nurse came in with another nurse, and I remember asking to speak with that nurse one on one. And I collected myself, and sh she was, you could tell she got on the defense because her shoulders went up. And I
Mm.
said to her, I said, "Listen, up until this point, my experience here has been very positive." I said, "However, you made some statements that were completely out of line."
Yeah.
And it was the way you said it, and it was also what you said. I said, "My family and my friends are here to support me. This is my first and only child." I said,
Mhm.
and again, up until this point, it was very positive. I said, "However, you are making it very uncomfortable." And like
Mhm.
I just broke it down, and you could see her shoulders just dropping, dropping,
Mhm.
dropping. And I also shared with that, I said, "And the way you treated my significant other, completely out of line and
Yeah.
unnecessary." And so she was very apologetic. She was like, "I didn't mean anything, whatever, whatever." And I apologized. I said, "Well, it'd be really helpful if you apologize to him directly because
Right.
you have to also consider he just had a child too."
Right. Mhm.
And never saw her again after that.
Wait,
I
so
think
wait, did she apologize to him?
yeah, yeah, mhm,
Oh.
mhm, but she only came in one additional time after that, and she was just like, "Do you all need anything? Whatever, whatever," but after that, for the rest of the time I was there, she wasn't there, and I imagine that she realized, like, "Okay, she's even though
Yeah.
she's out of it, she's probably not the one to play with." No,
Right.
I'm not, and neither is my none of my family and my
Right.
friends are, and no one at the hospital, I don't care who you are, what you look like,
Mhm.
should
That's
ever
right.
have that experience. This is a joyous occasion, and also,
Mhm.
you don't own my child.
No. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Again, assumptions being made because of what
mhm.
we look like,
Yep,
assumptions that
mhm,
nope, almost everyone that was there had had a child before,
yep,
so we understand the protocol and, people who hadn't had a child before have been to the hospital to
yep,
see a child, so understand the
mhm,
protocol, and if it was a matter of education of what the hospital was doing at the time, that's one
mhm,
thing, but to make assumptions
mhm.
and just respond without
Mhm,
communication, I think was definitely inappropriate, and, you know, I would
mhm.
well,
Oh,
number
no.
1,
Listen.
like, like you said, this was your first child,
Mhm,
advanced maternal age, like, thinking about
mhm,
all of the things and knowing your family is going to be there to
mhm,
safeguard you, like, I
mhm,
wanted to be there just in case there needed to be a voice
mhm,
and something needed to be said. I didn't want the family to be distracted by it, like, if I had to say something, I wanted to,
mhm,
be able to do that, and I don't think people realize that, like, it's not
mhm,
just, "Oh, I wanna see the baby," because I know I
mhm,
was gonna see the baby. It was
mhm,
if she needs something and if she needs
mhm.
somebody to step in and say something, then I wanna be there to be able to do that. So, like, yeah, they were doing the most, definitely.
Yeah, and it's funny because I remember so for anyone who's watching this that either has not had a child yet and is thinking about it, or you are scheduled for a C-section, my doctor, which is funny because others friends of mine that had a C-section didn't have this. The next
Mhm.
day I was up and walking the halls. And so
Yeah.
the nurses were like, did you
What
have
is
a baby
happening?
yesterday? I was like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they would be like, what's your pain level? I'm like a 1 or 2. They're like,
Mm.
what the heck? So what I didn't know is before they closed me up, they put pain blockers on the inside of my
Oh,
skin. So
yeah.
I couldn't feel. It wasn't
Mhm.
until probably a week later that I was like, what the heck?
Wow.
But when I say I was up and walking around, I was like, hey, yo.
My grandmother would have had a fit.
I was, but it was good that I was
Yes.
because you also know me. I can't. First
Mhm.
of all, the hospital wears
Right.
me out. The room where I got up out of there in 2 days. I was like,
Yeah.
if I'm cool, can I go home? The pediatrician was like, well, I guess so. I was like, well, all right then. But
Mhm.
I remember walking the halls, and then I ended up at a nurses station, and they were chatting with me, and I mentioned what happened, and they were like,
Mhm.
"Oh, no, do you remember?" And I could not remember this nurse's name, but
Mm.
they were saying that, they would have been if I told the nurse manager around whatever time that was, they would have been able to see who it was, and
Mhm.
they were like, "The nurse manager doesn't play. That person will be out of here, like, whatever, whatever, and that's not, the type of service that we offer." And I was like, "No, you all," because it was these same women that were there when I first checked in, and they were perfectly fine. I also
Mhm.
shared with them, like, the issue that you all had just waiting, to see me and make sure I was okay, and they also agreed, like, that wasn't the case, but the remaining stay was very positive. The nurses were
Mhm.
good, but I wanted to check in with like some other nurses to see like, hey, is this your normal course of action?
Right.
Because this is not okay. And they were like, yeah, no, absolutely not. And to your point, I think that, well, obviously you didn't make it on here, but in our private conversations, there were
Mhm.
plenty of
Mhm.
people in other rooms, like a lot
Yeah.
of people
Yeah.
in other
We
rooms.
saw
And
them
so,
going back while we were
yeah,
sitting in a waiting area that they
yeah,
didn't even want us to sit in. Like, they
yeah,
tried to make us stay downstairs,
yeah, yeah,
and there was a actual waiting area on your floor,
yeah,
and we made our way up there.
of course.
But as
And
we
you should
sat, we
have.
saw people just going back and forth
Mhm.
without any issue.
And there was
Numbers.
a miscommunication because it was shared that my mom and, my significant other could leave out and then 2 additional people could come in, and then when that
Mhm.
happened, it was like, "Oh, no," and it's like, "Hold on,
Right.
first of all,
Right.
me being here is how you're getting paid, ma'am. Number 1,
Right.
let's be very clear, okay? Secondly, you don't own me. You
Right.
don't own my child. Like, let's
Right.
stop. Like, let us stop right now. Just
Mhm.
stop. So there needs to be some level of compassion and understanding during
Right.
that time. And while the majority of the nurses absolutely had it 1,000%, sometimes one little apple, little
Right.
rotten, little shriveled up apple,
Yeah.
little funky apple,
Funky.
funky. But overall, my experience was positive. And maybe we'll break down on another episode what it's like having this little crumb snatcher.
Yes. My
Okay,
girl.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Because when's the last time I went to the bathroom by myself? At work,
It never ends.
at work. Mm,
Hilarious.
mm. But
Hilarious.
advanced maternal age be doing it
Yeah.
because it's a lot of women having babies 45,
Mhm.
50. I ain't doing
Yeah.
it. 55. Ooh, can you imagine? I'm thinking about how old this child's gonna be, how old I'm gonna be when she's 20.
You're gonna be the right age. Listen,
She always
for
trying to
such
be
a time as
encouraging,
this.
y'all, and the truth is, Imma be old and tired. Ain't nobody gonna wanna do nothing in 20 years. But imagine if I was 50 and my child was
Woo.
20.
Woo.
Girl, 70? Can't do it. Can't do it, won't
We
do it.
finna be young 70s though.
Yeah, you gonna be young 70s because your kids are gonna be appropriately aged. My kid is going to be not even as old as your youngest kid right now. I'm stressed, y'all. I'm stressed. No, but I will say that I do believe
Yeah.
one thing, and then we'll wrap up this episode. The one thing I will say is having my child at this age, I am completely okay just diving in and fully owning motherhood and
Mhm.
being with her, doing all the things so far that you get to do. And I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I
Right.
think I have lived a good life prior to becoming a mom that I don't feel like I need to be out on a Friday night or
Right.
Saturday night doing something. Now I can if I wanted to, but
Mhm.
doing floor time with her or
Mhm.
um all the crazy other things that I managed to do. But one thing I will say about floor time, your back and your knees at this age, same. Not the same. Not the same. But the Lord preserves you.
I can't indeed, indeed, indeed. I
There you have it.
can't.
There you
I
have it.
can't. Well, we'll find an opportunity to break down, like you said, learning more about the little one and how she's impacted your life, our lives, my girl.
Yes,
Uh,
definitely.
Until next time, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode.
See you then.